Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of HMF Live. This time coming to you on a special night, Wednesday, and from Washington, D.C. So I'm in my hotel room right now. I don't know if you can see out there, there's a glare, but that's D.C., that's the view. It's actually a pretty nice night. We'll see if another thunderstorm comes in. If you've been following me on my personal page, then you might have seen the storm from last night. It was crazy loud, and then I woke up, got a text that woke me up this morning that cautioned about flash floods, so it was obviously nuts. But anyway, so tonight I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about my story. But before we get into that, I wanted to, as usual, I like to kind of do some housekeeping and stuff. So first of all, I'm going to apologize if this kind of is all over the place, because this time change this week has really kind of got my brain all over the place, so I apologize. So first of all, for those of you who haven't watched before, my name is Tenya, and I am the founder and coach of Hustle to Muscle Fitness. I'm a team Beachbody coach, and using Beachbody products, I have been able to lose up to 78 pounds, depending on the day, of course, and have been able to keep that off. And I've been a customer with them since 2005, and got serious in 2009, and then have been a coach since 2014. So that's kind of me in a nutshell. I'll go into more story stuff, deeper details in a minute. But yeah, so that's part of the reason why I have like this show, I guess, is because I have a passion for health and fitness, and I like to try and share, things, my story, things that will help bring value to others. And so that's where my passion comes from, is from my own personal experience, successes and failures, lessons learned, that sort of thing. So let's see, a couple things though going on. Still about a week and a half or so away from Operation Liberation is a July challenge. August is going to be Project Fine, F-I-N-E, so fitness, inspiration, nutrition, and education. That's going to be the focus for August. So if you would like to join that, especially, also another announcement, those of you who have been paying attention to this page or my personal page know that Country Heat is coming out July 27th, I believe, is when all the packs go live. So if you would like to get in on Project Fine, or if I have enough people interested that want to do just a special Country Heat group, then I would be down to do that. But people got to talk to me, so the ones that did, I've already contacted you to let you know when the date is, and I will be sending you a reminder that day. So just a heads up. So that's the next big thing coming up, is Project Fine. The other thing, for those of you that are in the Yakima Valley, another coach and I are going to be hosting the first ever in the Yakima Valley Super Saturday, and that's going to be August 6th, 9 a.m., and that'll be at the Sunnyside Community Center. It's going to be so much fun. She sent me a video today of the community center so we can kind of plan things visually where everything's going to go. So we're going to have a Shakeology bar, we're going to have some networking, some fun activities, some stuff to actually learn, some content, prizes, recognition, and then we're going to end the day with a Country Heat group workout. So it's going to be a ton of fun. So I really hope that you'll be there. If you're a coach, it's $8 if you register ahead of time, $10 at the door. If you are not a coach, it's free. But I still ask that you register so we get a head count. And there's an event page on Hustle to Muscle Fitness where you'll find the link to register. So please, please, please go and do that, because we'd love to get this thing as full as possible. Okay, so let's chat. And again, I apologize if this kind of ends up all over the place. It's easy for me to do that when it comes to my own personal story, because kind of makes sense in here. But so some of you probably saw, hopefully, actually, I think there were 200 plus views. So some of you have seen the crossover episode with The Bottom Line from Gary, my husband. So he is a part of my story, obviously. But so I'm 35, just turned 35 as a matter of fact, and I have been married now for 12 years. I have an older sister, I got a younger brother and a younger sister. A lot of people, even my longtime friends, don't realize sometimes, or they forget that I have a younger sister because she didn't grow up with us. So my older sister, myself, and my brother, we all grew up in the same house. We were raised by our grandparents on my mom's side. But my youngest sister is a product of my mom, and I can now say former stepdad. And yes, I am happy about that. That's a whole nother story, but that's also my mom's story to tell. So anyway, so she grew up with my mom and her ex-husband, and so we weren't super close growing up, and she didn't really even know my grandparents all that, or our grandparents all that well. So for the most part, really growing up, it was the three of us with our grandparents. And without going into all of the details, I will say that both of my grandparents had no more than an elementary education, like 3rd and 5th grade. In fact, I think my grandma went to the 3rd grade when she was 14 for like, I don't know, 3 days or something. Or my grandpa went to 5th grade for like a day. But back then, you know, you pulled out, you worked, school wasn't as important. So needless to say, they couldn't help us much with our own schooling. But anyway, so raised by my grandparents. When I was a kid, I actually had a speech impediment for a very long time. And I was in speech pathology, or, you know, speech therapy. So I guess looking back now, being in education myself, I was probably categorized as a special ed student because I received services. And I didn't know that then. I just thought, well, everything else is fine. I can't say the CH or the SH sounds, which you can hear I can now. But, so anyway, speech therapy works. Just putting it out there. Like one day, you know, after working for a couple of years with the therapist, she came into my classroom and she said, okay, say Charlie went to church. And I said it just like that. Charlie went to church. She said, okay, you're done with therapy. And that was it after like 3 or 4 years. So it does work. I don't know how she ninja mind me or whatever, but it worked. So, but had a little bit of bullying from that. Actually, like a little bit of bullying from like one guy. And looking back, he was actually bullied too. And honestly, I think it was more because he was poor, unfortunately. I mean, not that I was rich. I was certainly poor too. But I think that's why he was bullied, because, you know, either clothes weren't great or his shoes weren't great, or sometimes he smelled. And so I think his way of defending himself was to deflect, and my speech issue became an easy target. So 2-year speech here worked great. Awesome. That's awesome, Stephanie. It does. It worked. I think I went from 5th to 8th grade, so maybe it took me a little bit longer, but and I was in there with 1 or 2 other students, and so hopefully it helped them too. Ironically, my brother had a bad speech impediment, and then so much so that really I was the only one who could understand him for quite a few years, because we were just close in age, and he always tagged along with me, so I could never get rid of him. But anyway, I digress. So anyway, so yeah, a little bit of bullying there, but you know, I wouldn't say it was so severe that I didn't want to go to school or whatever. I just tried to avoid that guy. He was a dick. But now I know that he was a dick because he was being picked on. And it was easier for him to pick on someone else than to either tell someone that he was being bullied, or I don't know, maybe cried at home. I don't know. But anyway, so when I was growing up, so I grew up with my grandparents. Grandma's from Texas, Grandpa's from Arkansas. We did not exactly have the healthiest household growing up. My grandpa was also a tobacco chewer. My grandma was blind. And our food selection was whatever it was, I know, was dipped in oil and fried, or battered in flour and then fried, or in butter, or lots of sugar, or whatever. So both grandparents were overweight. Both grandparents had heart issues. I know my grandma had a stroke at one point. She also had diabetes. She ended up with cancer. My grandpa ended up with a tumor here. That's from chewing. And then ended up with a tumor here. So that's another reason that my passion for health, even more so than weight loss, is so strong, because there's a lot of things in my family that I'm trying to avoid. And I know other family members have died from cancer, have had diabetes, have had blood pressure issues. And even when I was like 28, yes. So when I was 28, and you kind of probably even heard a little bit of this when Gary and I were on the crossover show when we talked about relationships. So when I was 28 and I was in grad school, he mentioned his narcotic drug addiction issue and how out of hand that got. So between that and all the things going on with working and school, I was like pre-hypertensive when I was 28. I had just kind of started, really getting into P90X. And so I'm thinking, I'm 28, I'm working out, I'm starting to change my eating habits. And my doctor's telling me that I could drop from a stroke at any point because my blood pressure is so high and my stress level is so high. And so I think she said my blood pressure, I'd have to verify with Gary, I don't know if he'd remember or not, but I want to say it was like 190 over something, or it was super high. And that was the point where I was like, okay, I really need to get serious, and I did. I mean, I really dove into P90X, and I did that round after round after round, and my nutrition would get better, but it took me a long time. I was it was slow for me to see progress. So when I have my own challengers, my own clients that get impatient because they're not seeing the progress, I know I know what that feels like. And I started out at so I'm 5'3", and I started out in 2005. I started out at like 200 pounds, and then when I restarted again in 2009, I was somewhere around 175, 180. So short and squat. I was the definition of that little teapot. But this teapot was on her way to blood pressure medication. And I didn't do the medication prescription level, but to prevent that, my doctor told me to take the Baby Bayer aspirin. So I actually did do that for a little while. And then every time I did my progress checks or my measurements and all that for P90X, I would do a blood pressure check. And I was just always hoping it was dropping. And eventually it did. So I've always dealt with weight issues. Sorry, little reminders on my phone are going off. So when I was in high school, I was a heavier girl. I probably could have been in more shape if my nutrition had been better on point, but I was in PE, I was in advanced PE, I was in weight training. I did all three sports, so sports all year long. Even in the summer, played basketball. And even then, still, as a high school girl at 5'3", I was 145, 150 pounds. College, I was like 150 to 160 pounds. And always felt insecure, I had a pretty low self-esteem when it came to that. So I never put myself out there for physical attributes other than weight training and being strong and athletic and that sort of stuff. But never because I thought I was attractive or had whatever great body or whatever, and was always a little envious of the girls who it always just seemed to come naturally and easy to them. And I haven't seen some of them, so I don't know if they still look that way or not. They could have lots of kids and be 300 pounds now for all I know. They might look the same. I don't know. But that wasn't my genetics. Even my own sister, she's older than I am, and in high school, she had the exact opposite experience. She's 5'11", first of all, and in high school was probably 115 pounds. So tall and thin, no matter how much she ate. And I hated her for it. And so yeah, weight was always an issue for me. I never really talked about it. And actually, I remember when I was 14, I was at home, and I don't know if it was one of my grandpa's friends or one of my mom's ex-husband's friends, I don't know, somebody, but they came over for whatever reason, probably to see my mom and her husband at the time, and he looked at me and he goes, are you pregnant? And I'm thinking, I'm fucking 14. Of course, that's not unusual where I live, and I was like, nope, not pregnant, I'm only 14. And he goes, oh, just good eating then? And he like patted his belly, and I'm like, I guess so. And that still, I mean, I'm telling you the story, I still remember that was 21 years ago. And I still remember some random asshole telling me I was fat at 14. So, and even my grandpa, I love him to death. He's passed on. I love him to death, but he didn't really know how to raise girls or raise teenage girls, because he used to constantly tell me that I was growing out, not up. Every time your elbow bends, your mouth flies open, meaning I eat a lot. You're always growing out, not up. So he's the best guy in the world, but he sucked at knowing how to talk to girls when they're going through puberty. And already think they're fat because they're comparing themselves to the other skinny, pretty girls at school. So it took me a really, really long time to get over that. And honestly, it was because I started working out, and just the neurological, the biochemical reactions that happen in your body to exercise changed the programming. It really, truly changed the programming in my mind. The more I worked out, the more these hormones and chemicals and stuff get released in your brain, serotonin, all these endorphins that make you feel good. And so my body was changing, but so was my mind, which was even more important because I started to have more self-confidence. I started to believe that I was actually stronger. I could tell I was feeling stronger. My body was changing. My athletic performance as an adult got much better. And you can ask Gary, for the very early years, half, if not more, of our marriage, I was constantly tearing myself down. God, I'm fat, or God, I'm ugly, or I don't know what you see in this, I don't know. I'm sure when I get old, you're going to be done and you'll move on to somebody even younger, because I'm 6 years younger than he is. But, and he hated it. He probably still hates. Every once in a while I might do it, slip into old habits, but I'll be honest, most of the time that's when I'm on my period and I'm just like, I think all women can relate to that. Like, I feel so fat and gross like a big bloated cow, and that's totally hormonal. But so yeah, always struggled with that. And in college, my first year of college, I didn't have an eating disorder at all, but I was always more willing to sleep than to get up and go to class or get up to go eat. And so not only did it show in my GPA that quarter, but it also showed in my weight, because instead of gaining the typical freshman 15, I dropped easily 15, maybe more. I don't know. I never actually stepped on the scale. But that Thanksgiving, first Thanksgiving coming home from college, my grandpa looked at me and he was like, "The hell's wrong with you? Your face is, or the skin's falling off your face," which was his way of saying, "You've lost a lot of weight." He had a weird way of talking to me. I don't know why, but, and then my schedule changed the next quarter and made more of an effort, I guess, or I had to be up for class. And, probably after that GPA report card came in, I realized I should probably attend class. And, so I made my way to the cafeteria, and I had an unlimited meal plan. And I love to eat. I post pictures of my food all the time. I love to eat. There is still a fat girl in here who loves to eat. And if I ate as much as I wanted to, or like I could, I should say, I'd have to work out a lot harder to maintain. So, and then when I finally did decide to start doing something about my weight, that was, so in like 2004, 5, so it would have been shortly after we got married. And, we had a cocktail party, because we lived in Bellingham at the time. We had a cocktail party, and so went shopping, bought this, what I thought was a cute little red dress, and we took pictures and stuff. And so when Gary and I finally got the pictures back, and I'm looking at them, and I'm like in the kitchen, mixing drinks or whatever, and I'm in this red dress, and I'm, kid you not, I was like, oh my God, I'm the fucking Kool-Aid man. Like, I just need to burst through a wall and go, oh yeah, because that's what I looked like in that red dress, which, by the way, was the biggest size I had ever bought at that point, and it was an 18-20. Most of my life, I was used to being a size 12, and at that point, I was an 18-20. And so then I started to kind of do some stuff. I tried Atkins diet. I tried South Beach diet. Went to Curves for 3 to 6 months. I can't remember how long. It wasn't the full year contract. And I had such a terrible experience there. First of all, I was like 23 at the time, like young, able, well-abled, whatever you want to say, to have been able to do a harder workout, even though I was out of shape. And Curves was really, like, looking back on it, great to get like old people moving or really obese people moving. But you go to, I don't know, for some of you, if you've never been to Curves, which of course will only be women because it's only for women, but there's all these different like stations, kind of in, at least the one I went to, in a circle, and there's music playing, and then it like beeps or whatever, and every couple minutes you move to a different, you go around the circle and you move to the station. And it was like stuff just doing this, like not even much, probably as much as I'm getting out of this rocking chair right now. And I don't even remember all of them. I just remember that one, or like shit like the Gazelle. It did nothing. And then they give you this like diet book that was ridiculously unhealthy, low in carbs. I remember I could have like 20 grams of carbs a day. That's like an apple. I was starving and dying for carbs. All I wanted at that point was bread or fruit or sugar or whatever. And the first week I lost 7 pounds, and I was super excited, but it didn't last long because it was one of those diets that has you try to abstain from like everything, and then of course all you want, it's a mind game, all you want are all the things that you're not supposed to be having. And then every time you'd go get measured, which I think was every month, it usually was somebody different. And so one month I'd have really great, like, oh, you've lost this much weight and you've lost this many inches, and I'd come home super excited and pumped and whatever. And then the next month I'd go back and I'd have someone new measure me, and the weight was whatever it was, and then suddenly they measured in a different spot. So it was, yo, you've gained, oh, you've gained, oh, you've gained. And then I'd go home devastated. Like, what the fuck was I doing the past month? And I finally got bad enough. Like, I came home from Curves one day, and you hopefully you know me by now, well, seeing these videos and my posts and kind of who my personality is. Some of you actually know me in person. And sirens, that's been going like all week. Welcome to DC. But I came home from Curves one day, and I got myself home, and then I got home and I broke down. I was bawling, like inconsolable. And Gary was just like, what the hell? What's going on? And so like, like I get trying to talk and I can't breathe, and trying to tell him what happened, that like my weight, inches, everything's all fucked up, and they keep measuring me in a different spot, and it's not consistent. And I was just, I don't know. We didn't make a whole lot of money then. Like, Gary worked part-time, I think. And I worked full-time for a community college, but I think I only brought home like maybe $1,800 a month. Less than that, actually, now that I think about it. Because I remember my paychecks were like 7 something a month. Or 7 something a check. I got paid twice a month. And so we really couldn't afford much living in Bellingham. A lot more expensive than living in the Yakima Valley. And so we like made the sacrifice for me to go to Curves to try and do something, get to become healthier and try to feel better about myself. And I was wasting my money, completely wasting my money. And so a lot of you have seen or know Gary, and the kind of bear he can turn into. And so, he's got his like wife that never sheds a tear for anything, bawling in the bedroom. And so that sent him off, and he, essentially became the knight in shining armor and called Curves and bitched them out and said, not only are you going to let her out of her contract, but you were not going to charge her for the rest of her contract, because this is stupid. And so he did. He called and he won, and I got out of my contract, and they didn't charge me. But so I have tried a lot of different things, different pills, trying to find a quick fix, different diets that were just so restrictive it wasn't even fun. And so now part of my purpose in coaching and doing things the way that I do is because I love to eat. So I'm not going to do something if it doesn't allow me to have food that tastes good. So whenever I invite you guys to a clean eating challenge or anything with the nutrition plan, know, first of all, this is coming from someone who's done crappy, shitty diets that didn't let you do anything, let you eat anything, and to a person who's a true foodie at heart and loves food, loves taking pictures of food, loves making food, loves eating food. So whatever it is, it's going to be healthy, but it's going to taste good, because god damn it, that's the one thing, if nothing else, I want food that tastes good. So always take that into assurance that whenever I say clean eating, that doesn't mean that you're eating cardboard or that you're eating rice crackers and drinking water. Fuck that noise. You can ask the people that are in the 5-day clean eating challenge now. They are loving the recipes. Just putting that out there. So, but anyway, that's, you know, for the most part, that's been my struggle with weight. And even after, I will say, even after I got into P90X, P90X has a very thorough, I guess you could say, nutrition plan. It's very complex, and it involves a lot. The recipes are great, but they involve so many ingredients. It took so much time to make a lot of those. And at that point, honestly, if Gary hadn't been helping me, I wouldn't have probably made it through because they were so time intensive. But even still, I did a whole round of P90X, so 90 days of killing myself at home in my home gym, and didn't see any results. And come to find out, one, I didn't have a coach, so I was doing it wrong. I did the wrong schedule. I did the schedule and the nutrition plan setup that helps you to maintain results. I didn't have results yet, so I just maintained the same shit that I started with. I might have been a little bit stronger, but so heartbroken. And it took Gary and everything I had to not send it all back and not keep trying. So okay, I'll try and do it the way I'm supposed to. And then I started to see it. It still took time, but I still started to see change. So believe me, when I tell you that I know what it's like to struggle. I can't tell you the number of people that I've sent invites like, hey, would you like to get healthier? Or would you like to work on your health and fitness goals? You know, this is what I love to do, is to help people do that. And I couldn't tell you the number of people that said, oh, I could never do what you do. Or, well, what do you really know about it? You're so thin, or you're so skinny now. Because I wasn't always this way. I was not. I was not born this way. I don't care what Lady Gaga says. I was not born this way. I had to work my ass off, really, literally, to do that. I wish I had my fitness journal here, because it's got my stats from day one, and I'm sure it will tell you that I have lost dozens and dozens of inches and 75 to 78 pounds, and that was not easy. I don't lose weight easily. Even now that I'm thin, I know how to get myself down a few pounds, but like in March when I got myself down to 122, which was the lightest I've ever been, I had to work my ass off for 8 weeks, and really tighten the nutrition. So I know my body, and I know how hard I have to work to make those things happen. So things don't come easy to me. My body does not respond to them quickly. So I have to be patient, and that's why I try to instill in clients that work with me, is that you have to be patient. It wasn't overnight for me to put all that weight on. You know, it took 28, 30 years. So I couldn't expect to lose it in a week. So I wanted to share this part of my story, the weight loss part, the journey, the struggle, because I do know what it's like to struggle. You see, a lot of you that have met me since then see this, and I'm very proud of this, but it's not how I've always been. And if you go through, I don't have any pictures with me, I don't think. If you go through old pictures, like in my Facebook, my personal page and stuff, you'll see some old fatty Tenya, and it doesn't always even look this. I look at myself and sometimes go, I can't even believe that was my face. So I just want you to know that I do know the struggle, and I know the struggle is real. I still struggle with food. You know, I work out every day. That part's easy. That's right, Brandon. Hard work does pay off, you know, and the workout for me now is easy. I love to work out. I love that challenge of, can I do another push-up? Can I do another pull-up? But can I walk away from that cake? Not always. Can I resist having that second sangria? I didn't tonight. So nobody's perfect. I'm not expecting you to be. I'm just expecting and asking, if you do work with me, that you put in your full effort, and know that you're not going to be perfect, but you don't stop trying when you do falter, or when you do have a treat meal, not a cheat meal, a treat meal, and that you don't let one slip up. Wow, something is on fire, I guess. And that you don't let one slip up completely stop you in your tracks. that would be like, I've heard the comparison before, you know, when you have a cheat meal or treat meal, or you slip up once and then you completely quit, is like the equivalent of getting like a little crack in the screen of your phone and then throwing out the entire phone. Would you do that? No. I've seen some people who have like who have a phone that looks like this, a screen that looks like this, and they're still fucking using it. So you can't give up on yourself. You can't give up on your body. You can't give up on your health. Because I know what it's like when you do that. You probably know what it's like to quit. What would it feel like if you didn't? I can tell you what it feels like when you don't. And it's freaking awesome. It's not always easy. I'm certainly not always perfect, but I'm in a better spot now than I've ever been before. So I hope me sharing my story helps. I'm, let me see, 30 minutes. That's probably long enough. So I hope this helps. Maybe it'll inspire some of you to kind of look and examine yourself. Maybe it won't. I don't know. But I feel like in order for you to maybe either develop that relationship or that trust in me, and the reason why I do this, it's important for you to know where I'm coming from. And so I do come from a place of being overweight, being unhealthy, a family history of being unhealthy, and a lot of self-esteem and eating. I guess I'd say if I have eating issues, sometimes it's binging. I don't do the purging part, but I will certainly go on a binge. Like Netflix binge and Doritos binge. Not so much anymore, but that's what it used to be. Or French fries or candy or whatever. So you guys probably saw like a month or two ago where I went on a pizza binge. And like my 1 or 2 slices of treat meal pizza turned into a whole medium pizza. So it happens. I still deal with my food issues, I guess. So, all right. I hope this has been helpful, or at least enlightening, insightful for you. And if you guys have more questions, I'm an open book. So if you have more questions about any part of my story, weight loss or the marriage and relationships with Gary or any of that, then I'm always happy to answer. So thanks for tuning in. Bye, Brandon. Thanks for tuning in. And I will see you. Hopefully we'll do another edition of HMF Live next week. I'll be in Nashville next week for Beachbody Summit. So we'll see how that schedule goes. So I can't promise anything. It might be a special Monday night edition of HMF Live. So, all right, guys, I'm going to get to sleep because I got an early flight tomorrow. So I'll see you guys later. Bye.